Hi, my name is Emma, and this is Andy. Before we start today's session, this is just a reminder that we'll be doing a letter writing activity at the end. We've sent an instruction sheet for the activity to anyone who had signed up for this session, but don't worry if you don't have it, as you can still do the activity without it. Just make sure you've got pens or pencils and some paper ready for that. So, as I was saying, my name is Emma, and this is Andy, and we both volunteer with Greenpeace. Greenpeace is a group of people who work to protect the natural world. Our mission is to make a greener, healthier, and more peaceful planet, a planet where people and animals can live happily together for many years to come. So today, we're going to be talking and thinking about what is happening in some of the world's largest forests. We'll be finding out why they're being chopped down, what impacts this has, and most importantly, what you can do to help. We'll talk about the links between industrial meat and deforestation.
Thank you, Emma, and hello everybody. Okay, let's start by talking about the world's biggest rainforest, the Amazon. The Amazon in Brazil is huge, roughly 2 times the size of India, and it is home to a huge array of biodiversity. Approximately 10% of all the world's plants and animals live there. The Amazon River accounts for approximately 15% of the world's river discharge into the oceans. And the Amazon is also, or stores, a huge amounts of carbon, amounting to 10 times the global annual fossil fuel emissions. Finally, 24 million people call the Amazon home, which includes hundreds of thousands of indigenous peoples.
So what about deforestation? In the last 40 years, the Amazon has lost more than 18% of its rainforest, a huge amount in just a tiny blink of its history. Deforestation has increased under the leadership of President Bolsonaro, who's made it very clear that he supports deforestation for agriculture. The forest fires last year that made headlines all throughout the world were so bad that the skies above Sao Paulo turned black, and that was 2,700 kilometers away from the Amazon. The main driver of deforestation is industrial meat, which we'll talk more about later.
So why is it an issue that forests are being cut down? Well, really, forests are important for everyone: people, wildlife, and the climate. And forests are really important if we are to tackle the climate emergency, as well as for our survival. The Amazon rainforest acts as a carbon store, and that carbon, if not stored in the Amazon, would otherwise be in the atmosphere. Now, scientists have predicted that it could take less than 20 years for the Amazon rainforest to reach a tipping point as a result of the amount of rainforest which is being destroyed or cut down. And that will mean that the Amazon can no longer sustain itself. Rainforests, including the Amazon, are also really important for our health and for preventing global pandemics like the one that we have recently seen. When deforestation occurs, humans and wildlife come into close contact, and that can increase the risk of the spread or transmission of deadly viruses. Another reason that deforestation is an issue is because wildlife needs forests, okay? And the Amazon rainforest is home to around 1/3 of the world's species. Industrial meat production is resulting in the extinction of thousands of those species, many of which have yet to be discovered. Finally, as we've already mentioned, the Amazon rainforest is home to millions of people, and therefore it's our responsibility to help protect their human rights. Jair Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil, is encouraging, however, wide-scale land grabbing to help produce resources like soya, as well as inciting violence against the indigenous populations in the area. Those people are the guardians of forests like the Amazon.
So, why are the forests being cut down? We're going to play you a short video which helps to explain the link between industrial meat and deforestation of forests like the Amazon. Some of you might have seen this before. It's about a jaguar who lives in the forests in South America. And whilst you're watching it, just have a think about what is happening and why it's happening.
There's a monster in my kitchen, and I don't know what to do. It has wicked, glowing eyes, and a snake-like tail too, and claws so sharp and beastly they could tear a child in two. It ripped our chalkboard off the wall and knocked over our stew, and it growled at all the bones from our summer barbecue. Perhaps this beast is here to feast, but on what? Or on who? There's a monster in my kitchen, and it's filling me with fear. Oh, monster in the shadows, please, tell me why you're here. There's a monster in my forest, and I don't know what to do. It turned my home to ash to instead grow something new. Feed for chickens, pigs, and cows to sell more meat to you. As our forest disappeared, their evil empire grew. They think they're unstoppable, but we pray this isn't true. The real cost of what they're doing, if only the whole world knew. There's a monster in my forest, and it's filling me with fear. It's putting us all in danger. To warn you is why I'm here. Oh, jaguar in my kitchen, now I do know what to do. We'll eat more plants and veggies, and we'll swap meat for bean stew or barbecue tofu. I'll assemble every warrior from here to Timbuktu. Oh, jaguar in our kitchen, now we do know what to do. We'll stop these deadly monsters so our planet can renew.
So, as you saw in that video, industrial meat is the biggest cause of deforestation in the world. And let's look at that in a bit more detail now.
Okay, so now you know that industrial meat is the main cause of deforestation. But what is industrial meat? Industrial meat involves the production of meat and dairy. And that includes pork, chicken, beef, fish, and of course, dairy. Often in huge quantities and using methods that cause significant environmental harm. The land used for industrial meat production is often in large volumes, and prior to that production, the land itself was either forested or using natural ecosystems. The land being used is used for grazing cattle and other farm animals, or alternatively to grow feed for those animals. As well as this, it requires large quantities of chemicals and antibiotics. Now, in the UK and Europe, industrial meat production often takes place in factory farms where cattle or other farm animals are raised indoors and fed using soya. Another name for industrial meat production is intensive farming, industrial farming, or forest farming. And most of the meat that is produced is industrial meat. For example, 95% of UK chicken is industrial meat, as is 75% of UK pork.
So how does soya come into it? So the global demand for soya comes mostly from the Americas, and nearly half from just 2 countries, so Brazil and Argentina. Soybeans are an excellent source of protein and an important part of many people's diets. However, soybeans grown for humans actually account for just 10% of the total soy grown, and the remaining 90% is grown to feed animals on industrial farms. As the size of the global meat and dairy industry has exploded, so has soya production. It's quadrupled in the last 20 years. The UK imports huge quantities of it to feed mostly chickens, pigs, and cattle. And as a result of the increasing demand, soya is the second biggest driver of deforestation behind cattle rearing for beef.
Okay, let's now look at the whole process that we've been describing. First, trees are cut down or burned. After those trees are cut down or burned, plants, including soya, are planted in the place where those trees existed previously. Next, that soya is harvested and shipped to countries, which includes the UK. Fourth, that soya is then fed to animals in the UK and other countries, including pigs and chickens, for example. And finally, those pigs, chickens, and other animals end up on our supermarket shelves.
So, who's to blame for the mass destruction? The main culprit is what we call the monster meat companies. These are big livestock companies, and they're the behind-the-scenes suppliers and producers of industrial meat that supermarkets and fast food companies then buy from. This includes a Brazilian company called JBS, which is the largest meat processing company in the world, and they produce factory-processed beef, chicken, and pork. The image here is one of their slaughterhouses in Brazil. JBS have been repeatedly called out for links with Amazon destruction. And then if we look closer to home, UK brands like Tesco and fast food giants like Burger King all buy their chicken or pork from companies owned by JBS. The UK supermarkets and fast food chains are therefore complicit in all of this destruction, as they're still buying industrial meat from known forest destroyers. Many UK food retailers have long-standing commitments to remove deforestation from their supply chains, and yet they're still buying meat reared on South American soya.
Okay, so you've heard about our vision now, which is to help protect the world's forests. Now, in order to do that, we are calling on world leaders to stop industrial meat companies destroying those forests. For that, we need your help to send a message to those companies asking them to stop selling meat which is involved in deforestation. Tesco is the UK's largest supermarket with links to deforestation. It sells more meat and uses more soya for animal feed than any other UK supermarket, and this is not okay. So where do you come in? We want you to write a letter to Tesco asking them to stop producing meat that is involved in the process of deforestation. We want you to tell them about what you've learned today and why it's so important, and ask them to stop using that meat and to replace it with more affordable plant-based foods.
So we've sent an instruction sheet to everyone who signed up for this session, but all of the instructions are also on the screen now. Make sure you've got your letter writing materials ready. So that's a pen or a pencil and some paper. And you'll also need to decide who you're going to write to. So you could write to the person who manages all of Tesco. His name is Ken Murphy, and his address is on the screen here. Or you could write to the manager of your local Tesco store. Once you've decided who to write it to, you can then write your letter. You can use our template, which is on the screen and on your instruction sheet, or you can write your own. You might also like to do some of your own research or include any facts you've heard in this presentation. Make sure you tell them why you care and what you want them to do.
Okay, so now it's time to post your letter. Why not package all of your letters up together as a class or a school and send them in order to increase the chances of being noticed? We would love to hear how you get on, so please do send us photos with your letters and the replies that you receive to getactive.uk@greenpeace.org. Are you ready to send your letters? Fantastic. We've really loved speaking to you today, and we can't wait to see the letters that you send and the replies that you receive. So you can now pause this video and follow the instructions on the screen to write your letters. Don't worry though if you don't have the time to do so right now. We've also included the instructions on a sheet that has been sent to you, so you can do this in your own time. Thank you so much for listening to us today, and we look forward to seeing what the letters that you write.